Hold on. One more second. LOL. So there's this thing that we humans do, and that is we tend to make time and effort in the things we actually care about. Now that science and technology is becoming more of a core aspect in our lives, we tend to forget other more important things. And these things tend to, make us feel certain ways. But when I talk about philosophy and the way to think, what I mean is philosophy used as a way of taking abstract concepts and bringing it to a more real, hard reality. Everything we see around us, except for nature, has been an idea. It was in somebody's head before it was real. The ability to do this, the ability to think and be inspired by ideas and create something that brings development to us, is our power of thinking. But most great people of history will tell you that it takes discipline, it takes education, it takes detachment, and many other things before you can polish rationality. I don't want to just use a word without really getting what it means, but philosophy is mostly the study of aesthetics, logic, rationality, metaphysics, and ethics. Well, aesthetics is also sometimes one of the most important parts. It's how we communicate to each other. It's how we take a topic that may be taboo or very difficult to convey. Jim and John may not be able to know each other very well, but by understanding aesthetics, they can clothe the concept and give it to each other in a way that is very easy to take in. That is basically what philosophy is. But what's most important for us right now and most relevant to our theme, religion and science, philosophy and God, we find that logic and rationality is a very core aspect of this topic. The idea that God and the belief in Him is not a very rational thing. Looking at rationality, we can define it as premises leading to a necessary conclusion that does not self-refute or go against any other known facts. What? Well, basically this. It needs to have a series of thoughts and theories that lead to something that is rationally sound and can be further proven. It sounds boring and dreadful in of itself as a practice, but it is core in this rational animal that is mankind. If I were to be more analytical, I would say that science is quote-unquote analytically descriptive, whilst philosophy is synthetically interpretive. Look at this. Well, this is perfect for an example. If I want to scientifically describe this, I would go into the material it's made of, the type of plastic, how that plastic is made. I would even maybe talk about the volume. I would further go in and talk about its content. I will talk about the molecular structures of its content and describe the part in fact. But if I were to go in with a philosophical habit, with a philosophical thought process, I might explain why it exists, why it's necessary, who it helps, maybe what it's easing up, and what people of today use it for. Bottle flip! I like to think of myself as a very rational person, especially critical in thought. But that's just it. Critical, but do I criticize if I'm critical? We tend to criticize the things we don't agree with. Now, we're raised and we're taught, and you hear everybody say, oh, be sure to be critical to every form of information, which is great. But if you don't really understand and define these things, it's very easy to veer off in a road that doesn't really follow what you're trying to do. We tend to criticize more than we are critical. I mean, criticizing is to get any piece of information, make up your mind about the value or validity of this information, and basically tear it to shreds. I'm criticizing the way you dress. I'm criticizing a sports team. I'm criticizing an idea. But I haven't given it enough time to really sink in and tell me what it means. I haven't given it enough time to know where it comes from. But with critical thinking, you take in this idea, you think about it for a moment, for a day, maybe for a week. You see the things that you agree with, things you don't agree with. And you actually dive into the things you don't agree with. Fairly, justly, and humbly, most importantly. A lot of lees. That is one of the core aspects of having a philosophical habit. It is defining our terms. Voltaire once expressed that if one wishes to converse with him, you have to define your terms. Define it to the point where discussions, debates can be reduced to mere paragraphs. He says that is the heart and soul of philosophy. That it's alpha and omega. One way Aristotle's liked to do it is he had a very great passion for defining his terms. What he would do is he would take a term and he would characterize it as noumena, names, and res, things. He would find what makes that thing stick out the most. Let's take humans, for example. What he would do is he would say, I, by classification, am an animal, a beast. And then he will dive it in all types of generic terms, and he'll retrieve it with a distinction. Rational. Man is a rational animal. This way, what we're talking about, building premises, can further be done better. And we can actually get to a conclusion from these premises that both parties can agree with.